Action 2016, Republican presidential candidate Carly Fiorina, even Carl Bernstein. I want to get your reaction to what she said in that interview, but said Hillary has a difficult relationship with the truth, but has become a specialist at fudging the facts. Wow. What's your reaction to that interview?
Well, it's back to the vast right-wing conspiracy, Sean. It's all the fault of the vast right-wing conspiracy. And in that interview, which I think was really vintage Clinton, she did not answer a single question, really. She did not accept accountability for anything, really. I honestly think she has lived in her own world and in her own bubble for so long that she really doesn't perceive these very real conflicts of interest as conflicts of interest. She just wants people to trust her.
What did you think, for example, on her answer about emails? There was no law. Actually, we do have a records law, so that was inaccurate. And that, there was no regulation. There was nothing I did. These items were subpoenaed, and she hadn't handed them over for years. So does this fly with the American people, or does the trustworthiness quotient get bigger for her?
Well, I think as the polls indicate, people don't trust her, and that means the foundation of leadership is not solid for her. But I also want you to notice something else, Sean. She was not asked a single question about her track record as Secretary of State. She wasn't asked about why she thought a gimmicky red reset button would stop Vladimir Putin. She wasn't asked about why she called President Bashar al-Assad of Syria a positive reformer. She wasn't asked why she declared victory in Iraq in 2011. She wasn't asked if she thought she had lied to the American people about Benghazi and what she thinks now of the fact that Libya is a failed state and a haven for terrorists. In other words, she isn't going to be asked all the questions she needs to be asked, which is why we must have a nominee who will face her on a general election debate stage and ask every single one of those questions so that the American people have the facts they need to make a good judgment.
And she, the other thing she attacked, this honesty and trustworthiness question. I've never witnessed a politician that's won an election when 57% of the electorate don't think you're honest and trustworthy. Now, she dismissed the idea of the Clinton Foundation. I mean, all of this money that was given from all of these countries with atrocious human rights records for women, but she wants to be the women's candidate. What is your answer to that?
Well, yes, you're right. She wants to run as the first woman president. If, for example, I faced her on a general election stage, she wouldn't get to run as the first woman president, would she? She'd actually have to answer a question about her track record, about her accomplishments, about her trustworthiness. And I would point out that not only has she taken money from governments with atrocious human rights records, but she, as Secretary of State, took human rights and women's rights off the table in her discussions with China specifically, even though she made a big show of showing up in China to talk about women's rights or human rights, and yet when she was in a position to pursue that conversation with China as Secretary of State, she took it off the table.
I want to go to comments you made about Donald Trump and his comments that he made that have made so much news here. You called them outrageous. You said he doesn't represent me, he doesn't represent my party. I want to play the comments for you. And specifically, I want you to tell me what part of this you disagree with and why. Let's listen to the tape.
When Mexico sends its people, they're not sending their best. They're not sending you. They're not sending you. They're sending people that have lots of problems, and they're bringing those problems with us. They're bringing drugs. They're bringing crime. They're rapists. And some, I assume, are good people. But I speak to border guards, and they tell us what we're getting.
Your comments, I felt, were extraordinarily harsh. What part of what he said do you disagree with?
Well, I think, first of all, that it's inaccurate to say that the Mexican government is purposefully sending all of their criminal elements. I think, secondly, it's obviously true that we have a lot of criminal elements. And I think we need to collaborate more with Mexico, to be sure. I think Donald Trump has raised an important issue, but as Rudy Giuliani said in your previous segment, these issues have been around for a very long time. It is a problem with an insecure border, sanctuary cities, crime, criminal elements coming in through an illegal immigration problem that hasn't been fixed under Republicans or Democrats. And I think it points out the fact that we have too much hyperbole and too many sound bites in our political process and not enough problem solving and not enough results. Everybody talks about it, Republicans and Democrats alike, particularly around election time.
But he's offered a solution.
And yet somehow the border remains insecure.
He said nobody builds better walls than Donald Trump, which I think is actually funny the way he says it. But more seriously, you know, Carly, people are being murdered by illegal immigrants. There have been sexual assaults.
No question.
The numbers are staggering.
That's right.
And we haven't done anything to fix it.
That's right.
So in that sense, I think you agree with him that that's all true. It's just you didn't like the manner in which he said it. Why did you call it so outrageous then?
Well, because I think when we condemn a whole group of people wholesale, that doesn't help us solve the problem. I too have offered a solution to the illegal immigration problem. I've been far more specific than Donald Trump about the need to secure the border, about how I would fix the legal immigration system. For an example, I've been very specific about how I would deal with those who have come here illegally and stayed here illegally. But when we paint whole groups of people as bad people, I don't think that helps us advance the conversation. I think what we need now, honestly, in all of our political process, is less rhetoric and more results.
All right,
less
but in fairness
talk
to him,
and
he
more
did say
problem
some are good people. So I just want to be fair to his side of the argument. All right, good to see you. Thanks for being with us.